So in a nutshell, my nigga was trying to tell us hundreds of years ago that parliamentary government is just a theater, a spectacle of interest and eloquence. And we have the World Cup going on now, so people are very excited here in Little Italy. I don't care for sports really, but I like it. I like when people get excited for things like that. It's cool to watch. Very nice. But yeah, I don't follow sports. Same thing when the Knicks were playing and they were winning games, and I was in Little Italy. Everyone was celebrating. It was cool to see. You know, I'm not one of those fucking midwits that condemns the normie for enjoying some games of sport because they're normal individuals. No, no, no. I'm not a midwit. I'm fucking retarded. 87 IQ over here. Anyway, as I was saying before I was interrupted, Carlyle, my nigga, predicted the future so well hundreds of years ago. And he described the illusion of democracy, how democracy is an illusion. It's an illusion that voting could be a supplement for leadership. You know, thousands of years ago, days of Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar and Napoleon and other great men, these were very unique individuals with a very unique combination of traits that allowed them to rise to the top and lead their nation. And now, given what we understand about genetics, we understand how spectacular those individuals truly were, and a lot of it comes down to their genetics. But unfortunately, the system that we're in now does not allow those very unique, spectacular, rare individuals with a very unique combination of genetic traits to rise to the top. Instead, the ones who end up rising to the top are the ones who are the loudest, the ones who are the most unscrupulous, the ones who can be the most performative. You know the concept of virtue signaling? Yeah, Carlyle was one of the first people to point out what virtue signaling was. This nigga was so ahead of his time. Hundreds of years ago, he was explaining this concept, and now it's in our everyday use. We talk about virtue signaling all the time. And it's so surface level, obviously, to say, like, all politicians are liars. Obviously, yeah, we know that. But some people still ask, why? Why is this the case? It's because they have to in a democracy. If they're not liars, if they're not performative, if they're not corrupt, they will not make it to the top. The moral ones, the ones who don't engage in that behavior, you don't see because they are not successful at all. Even the small town mayors, even they will struggle. Some of them could succeed, but even for them it's difficult without a level of corruption, because in order to gain exposure, you're going to need money and you're going to need people lobbying. And so in a democracy, it's very likely that it is a guarantee that people are going to be corrupted. So obviously all politicians are liars. This is precisely how the system was designed. And this is why a lot of people will say democracy is broken, and it's not broken. It's functioning precisely for what it was designed for. It is not broken. It works very well, and you have to understand it for what it is. It's an illusion. It's an illusion that voting will supplement for leadership, and it's a very soothing and comforting thing to the masses because it allows them to feel like they're in power, but they're not at all in power. They're just able to be manipulated very easily. And you can understand how this happens so easily by looking at the IQ bell curve. The people with the highest IQ make up, a very small minority of the people in the total population. The overwhelming majority of people lie in the average IQ section. And in order to be skeptical and engage in critical thinking, you need to have an above average IQ to a degree. And unfortunately, most of these people who have the majority power as voters, they're easily manipulated, you know. This is one big reason why I don't engage in politics myself. The primary reason I don't engage in politics is because, as a Stoic, it's important to not worry about things that are beyond your control. And people will argue, well, technically your vote is a degree of control. Well, you have to weigh that. You know, the amount of effort and energy you have to put in versus the output of, like, how insignificant your vote is. Like, here's the output, microscopic, and then the amount of energy that's going to be needed for that, like dedicating so much of your life, it's like all the way down to the fucking hell, the core of the earth. It is a retarded trade-off. So yeah, you have negligible, almost no control. There's absolutely no reason you should be engaging in politics. That's one thing that I've always liked that Clavicular has said. He said, politics are jester, and I like that he's making that cool for the youth, because it is very true. Politics are very jester. You should feel above it. You should feel above it. When you see people engaging and going back and forth, pointing out contradictions here and there, watching the sloppy YouTube videos pointing out contradictions of midwits like AOC. I mean, like, sure, we all used to like that content when we were like 15, 16 years old, if we're not fucking retarded. But you have to graduate beyond that. Don't stay stuck in that loop. Graduate beyond that. Because watch from above, a bird's eye view, the masses. That's how I see it. I watch the masses fight, the left and the right. I watch them fight, and that is just one of the aspects of how democracy was designed, and it works to the people in power's benefits. I know this is like a conspiracy, like, way of thinking and all, but it's true. And you have to understand it from the other points. That's just one of the perks of a democracy for people in power. Keeps the masses divided and distracted. But it also allows the people who have the most money to exercise their self-interests, because the people who are going to rise to power are easily corrupted. They have to be corrupted, but it's precisely because of that the most competent ones don't rise to the top. Rather, the most unscrupulous ones rise to the top. But this is the illusion that's created. And so it doesn't fucking matter who you vote for, the left, right. You have some people who, like, hate Trump. You have some people who love him. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter at all, because they're all puppets. Every single one of them in a democracy. There is no outlier. They simply do not get that far without being a puppet to a degree. Some of them are better at hiding it than others. Some of them are better with the performative nature of it. Because it is getting more and more difficult to hide in the modern day with the rise of social media, clips and narratives being spread everywhere. But at the end of the day, the overwhelming majority of people are still middle IQ to low IQ. So they're going to still be easily manipulated. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because what choice do we fucking have? At the end of the day, there's going to be some people we have choices of voting for. And it's not going to be the most competent. It's not going to be the people who are going to have the highest likelihood of creating a better quality of life for the average individual in the nation. because it really is possible to create genuine change in a situation where the most competent person rises to the top. And that doesn't mean the highest IQ person. It's a various combination of different genetics. It's all these things combined that lead to a spectacular standout individual. And that's why there even was, some benefit to the family aspect of like passing down nobility, because genetics were inherited. So even that, to a degree, could be argued is better than democracy. If, of course, the initial kings and then the queen also had good genetics, then it would be assumed that it would be probable that, not guaranteed, but probable that the prince would receive a decent, relatively decent genetic recombination, potentially even better if they were acting eugenically. And obviously eugenics is a new concept, last 100 years, but even thousands of years ago, they recognized truths about humans, even if they didn't put a term to it like DNA. They recognized things like race. They recognized things like height and people's behavioral tendencies and intelligence. And they recognized that these things could be inherited through children. And so that's why it actually wasn't completely retarded to have it remain in the family. Like there is a degree of understanding why that system prevailed for so long. And it's because of inheritance of genetics. But I wouldn't argue that that's the ideal. And Carlyle doesn't argue that that's the ideal either. He believed that system has been, it's run its course. But the system that is ideal is where the most competent individuals have an opportunity to rise to the top. And a democracy does not allow for that. A democracy is an illusion. And it is not broken because while a democracy does not help your everyday quality of life as much as you'd think it would, it's still serving the purpose that it was intended for. So you can't really say it's broken. You just have to understand what the intention of democracy was. And it wasn't for you, my friend. It was to deceive you and make you feel comfortable, make you feel like you had a degree of control. The fucking bikes are back. It's okay, we're stoic, we're not going to be bothered by it. It's alright, you got to turn it on and off a couple times because it has issues here and there. It's alright. Today I treated myself. I usually have a black coffee. Today I got a cappuccino. Still no sugar, but I figured I would treat myself today. And it's pretty solid, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, I think we covered mainly what I wanted to articulate in the video. If you're interested in this, I would encourage you to read some of Carlyle's work. I think he was somebody who was very, very ahead of his time. Predicted a lot of how democracy would go. And there were other facets where he was also ahead of his time. But again, I don't care about politics. But I like observing human nature and history and understanding how things work. This doesn't mean I'm going to start voting, especially not. Like I don't give a fuck about any of this. But I'm just making observations and sharing them with you. And hopefully this also helps you detach from politics as well. if me explaining to you that there's no ROI from the energy output and there's no control you have over it wasn't enough, hopefully now it is enough for you to detach from politics, because even that vote, it's a system that, it's just an illusion. You're playing a game. You're playing a fucking game. Like, don't you feel stupid? Doesn't that make you feel dumb? I feel stupid if I'm engaging in that and trying to decide, like, oh, let's observe this debate. Ooh, I see Trump called out the lie of fucking Hillary Clinton. Ooh. That was so smart. That was so good. It's all a fucking spectacle. It's a theater of eloquence and interest. It's just a theater. Virtue signalers who could execute performance to the highest degree are the ones who succeed. That's the competency that is rewarded. Deception and performance. Lying. Who could be strategically the most scrupulous without getting completely busted and deemed as immoral. But this system works so well for the people who have the power, the people who are lobbying. Yeah, so I don't know, like, don't you feel stupid engaging in that? Don't you feel like a sucker? It's like they're looking at you. Like, look at these fucking retards debating and shit. And watching Ben Shapiro content thinking they're fucking smart because they're calling out certain contradictions. Oh, wow. Have you not graduated that since the age of 16? Like, fucking grow up. You're in this endless fucking loop. It's the same thing that I talked about in the video that I recorded earlier today. How incels love watching videos condemning hypergamy and promiscuous women. It's like, we know this. We've been there. We know this. Let's graduate past that. You don't need to keep engaging with it and be a part of the conversation. Stay above it. You're better. Stay above it. And in the same with politics, stay above it. There is nothing you gain from it. And don't you feel like a sucker? Don't you feel dumb and manipulated? Again, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care about how politics go. It's whatever. I'm just making an observation, explaining it to you. Because I don't know who else to share these autistic thoughts with.